Facebook's all coming through.
Hi, everyone. I like how the first words to this is just gonna be Facebook.
There's no countdown. How am I supposed to know?
No countdown.
Sound is good. Ha! How was that?
Can you hear the fan in my background? That's my question.
I turned my fan off.
What?
I can't hear your fan.
Okay.
All I hear is a fan.
Oh, that's just your window
It.
next to you.
The chat doesn't know about the window. Say on window talk.
No. Well, I would say that I'm more of an Apple person, but I'm not. I'm definitely a Windows person.
Oh man. Walked into that
deep
one.
Debate. All right, welcome everyone to our 61st episode of Exploring the Libraries. We are super professional and we know what we're doing every week. We don't have a whole lot of topics to discuss pre-planned, so if you have topics, throw them into the chat or throw them into the Exploring the Libraries conversation in Discord, and we will take a look at that and go from there. What else can I say as a precursor? I don't think I have anything else to say as a precursor. That's everything. That's it for the show. Yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome. Alex, you got a topic? Let's start with that. Might as well just jump into it.
You want to go straight into that topic?
Yeah, let's just go straight into it.
Sure.
This is hard talk.
This is hard talk. There's been a lot of communication between judges, between players, between designers, even about how a pillar actually works. So I think I sent a message to you, Sid, that I found an issue with the pillars.
Yes.
Do you remember the issue?
Because the pillar abilities, I believe, are triggers and not continuous. But even if they are continuous, actually, I have a pillar.
They are continuous.
They are continuous.
They are continuous. Okay.
Yes.
It's the phrasing of it. So it does not talk about radius to them and duration of the ability.
Correct. Yes.
And so I know what the intention was for it.
Yeah.
I know how that confuses on execution, and where I would have done things a little bit differently. But yeah, like, what is going on in the community when it comes to this?
So pretty much as you said, how a ability works is once you add something to yourself, you don't lose it unless something states that you lose it. So if you technically read the pillar, once you add weakness, it never says take it away.
Yeah.
So that's the perception. Now, however, I assume somebody on the rules team at some point caught this and tried to self-correct this, but in the rule book, they changed the rules on how elemental weaknesses are done. And elemental weaknesses in the rulebook state, they always last until end of round, which is still different than the intention of the pillars. So now we have another different perception.
You have the golden rule of all TCGs, which is that the rules stated on the card supersede anything written in the rulebook.
Exactly.
So you can't use the rulebook as a defense to say this is how the card should function. The card should function the way it's written.
Yeah. I guess I should pass it to Will, because you have the biggest. You've been having to deal with the biggest debater about this comment, I believe.
Well, it's more of just a discussion that's and you know, some of their newest entry level judges who are just sort of coming in have even they started looking around at the cards and trying to pick up on how to do things, and even then they're bringing up, you know, this issue, like, well, what happens, or how does this work? So I think there is. I think what we're dealing with right now is that we have language and text on the card, and the card supersedes whatever is in the rule book.
Yeah.
So does the text on the card, is the understanding of what it says actually occurring when it's being used?
But then that's still not the right thing, is that because then you actually have to compare it to the intention of the card, which we all know the actual intention is that You just have weakness while you're in or on. That was the intention of the card, but we can't make a statement about that. You can't be like, well, I'm playing the game. The intention of this card is something else than what it says. We can't
Yeah, because not everyone's going to know that intention.
Yeah.
Right? So, yes, the intention was while you are on a spot adjacent or on the location of the pillar, you would have weakness.
Yeah.
But what we have is everything else on or adjacent gains weakness.
Yeah.
Now, arguments could be said that gains isn't a defined term.
Then my argument to that is if we switch the text of this card to gains 1 health, a player would now not assume it's the same issue. If they were to walk onto it, they would gain 1 health. They wouldn't assume that it would now go away at the end of the turn or end of the round. Once you've gained something, you've gained it. Right?
So, is gain really not defined in the rulebook?
It currently in 4.1 and currently it's not defined.
Interesting. I would have thought it would be, but at the same time, there are. It is kind of weird to get to a point where you're essentially defining almost every single word, right? Like gain means gain, as it does.
Right. And I think that's the part where the language comes in is like, well, yes, gain means this, right? We understand what gain means. Now, to add some complexity to our discussion, continuous. Mm-hmm. How does that come into play in your minds?
So this is definitely a case where continuous needs a... Continuous should not be, whatchamacallit?
A trigger? Should not be a trigger?
No.
Restricted? Requirement?
Continuous needs to should not have other definitions around what continuous means. So something that's clearly continuous is like flight. We understand that. As flight is a mechanic, it just does what it does. It supersedes the rules.
Right.
But this case, it actually would have been cleaner to have rewritten the cards as triggers to say when something moves on or adjacent to the pillar, it gains that weakness until end of round. And then next round, when it moves again, it'll gain that trigger again. That would have been the cleaner sense. I think the fact that we're combining this rule state of the intention of pillar, saying while you're around it, you're gaining the weakness, with a spatial element. So now you have 2 definitions. It's proximity and time frame. And if we were only talking about time frame, then continuous makes sense. But since we've now combined these 2 things, that's where you start getting into a lot of the confusion. And I think this is also just another quirk of Genesis. This is something that isn't as confusing in other TCGs that don't deal with spatial elements. Because for a spatial element to become true, it's a trigger. You're waiting for a condition to be met, and then the clause becomes true. So it really should have been a trigger. I think what really needs to happen now is an FAQ on how this card should function, and I don't think it should gain an errata. I don't like the idea of errating cards to make them work within your intention, even though the way it works right now doesn't break the game. Now, if we were... The pillars written as they are right now don't make them that significantly stronger than where they were before.
Yes. And that's what I think when we talked with the designers, we're like, the pillars get a slight buff where you're... Well, so even if you do the buff where it's until end of round, the until end of round is still not existent on the cards. So it's like, once again, the rule can't be...
Yeah.
I'm going to backtrack. What do you see the pillars should be? Even if it was an FAQ, what would the FAQ say? I think that's where I need to look.
It would say, so one of the questions would be, do you lose the weakness at the end of round? And no, I don't think you do. It's not written anywhere there that you lose at the end of round.
Okay.
So basically, the pillar gives you a permanent branding of that element for essentially the rest of the game. That's the way it's written right now.
Now, do you think that would make it too strong, though?
it makes it slightly stronger, but we're already talking about cards that don't see a lot of play because of their limitation. Does this then make it more playable? Because it also, once they brand the target once, it doesn't stack, because it does have
you
the
can't
clause
stack.
that without the weakness. So you can't stack it. It does mean that you can run fewer of them now, because it does do permanent branding. That's kind of interesting. I think there's room to do some playtesting and see, does this need an errata, or can you just work with it the way it's written? Because I would be curious to see how it works completely as is, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
What I foresee would be, you throw in your Hawajians or your other elemental 2/1s. You get to a point where you have enough of them on the board.
Does this now make elemental decks feasible?
Because every if it's going to permanently brand them with a weakness, that's basically saying all air damage is +1 to whatever's in there.
Now, technically, there is a card that removes weaknesses, isn't there?
There is.
Welcome to
only the summons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But if you use Brain, you could target yourself.
Unfortunately, it's a Vellum, so I don't think Brain's gonna get to do it. So just Jeff. So there's two things I wanted to catch up. One, Jason Greenberg agreed how he looked at the card it was permanent, because it doesn't say while on or adjacent. Yeah.
There's no if for choice there.
There's no if for choice, right? Jeff just realized a lot of people haven't noticed or thought we all been playing it wrong in theory. Really, every game I've played, we've ignored that weakness as soon as they moved out of the arena, like immediately once they move out. And that's the intention, but not what's written on the card, unfortunately. Yeah. And that's the argument we're having, is that we have this issue. And the opinion right now, as Sid was saying, is the question for me is, does this make branding summons useless? Is there a reason to now just play a branding summon?
So for
your 5 cheese, your 6 chi does branding, whatever. Yeah.
I got a shout out from my nephew and niece, so I got to say hi to them. And then, so yeah, like, I think because of just how did the wording for pillars change going from Raise to J2? Are they worded the exact same?
There is a slight difference.
All right, let me pull up my J2 binder.
I think it's just
everything else on or adjacent to water pillar without water weakness gains water weakness. I think it's just punctuation.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
It's identical. Yeah.
Okay. One of them gained an action ability, but I think that's just an editing error. The fire pillar in J2 has it as action.
Oh yeah.
That's it. I don't remember that one.
Oh, no.
Is it a new error?
Yeah, that's one that I don't know if it's been caught.
J222.
Oh, no.
The question is, did Brad catch that? I have confidence in Brad, but at the same
believe
time,
in Brad.
Human errors, it happens. That's not the end of the world.
It doesn't make sense as an action.
Yeah.
No.
So, yeah, there was the play of intention versus actuality, and then the question becomes, so I don't like doing erratas. I don't like the idea, if you are a brand new player, you open this card in a draft or something like that, you read it, you go to use it, and then it's like, no, that's not actually how it works. You have to go look up erratas online, right?
But we have an awkward statement here where the errata problem is, and then there's the how it's being played. So technically, people aren't playing it right to begin with. So it's an errata by telling them how to properly play it.
So that's interesting, because that's an issue of being able to read and comprehend the rules, right?
Yeah.
And I don't hold that against people, because at the same time, like, games as a whole, they have confusing rules. It's hard to understand every single card. Like, it took us a long time, even as I mean, even now we're learning about water pillars. In the past, we learned about chain lightning. A lot of these cards, over time, we learned about them differently. Like, even, I remember when people realized, oh wait, I can kill Guardian of Balance before Day of Peace goes off? Like, that was revolutionary at the time. So, as the game grows and develops, not only does the community learn and the players get smarter, but also the designers get more refined when it comes to that. And I think that will just naturally happen over time. And then... So, I lean towards the side, if we don't have to errata, if we don't have to ban, I'd rather not do those things and find a way to work within the scope of how the cards are written. It was the same thing with, oh my goodness, Thunderstruck. I remember when Thunderstruck was printed, it was originally supposed to be action, and we had the debate back and forth. Do we keep this as Swift, or do we release an errata for it? And I was just like, nah, just leave it as is, because I don't want to confuse people when they open up their packs and they're exploring these cards for the first time. And so I think it's fine to leave them as is and then just see how much now the question is, if we leave them as is, how much does that break the game? So
like, I don't think it would break the game. At the core of it, I don't think it would. I think it would be unfortunate is the best word I can say. I think just because the design space was not necessarily prepared for that. Even going into Origins. Which I will say, in Origins, little spoilers, there is cards that remove ailments. So, like, we do have some defensive cards coming, but was not planned to deal with the permanent weaknesses.
So the only thing that I can see from my perspective is that the fact that the pillar can be played right beside your opponent, and then there's no real response unless they want to use a movement. But why would you use a movement because something's coming down on a different spot in the arena, and now all of a sudden you're getting this permanent ailment?
You can't evade it.
Yeah, you can. Because the ability is continuous, so there's no response to it.
Even the placement of the beacon. You respond to the beacon, you move, and then it just gets placed in the new spot beside you.
Right, because it's create doesn't actually have to go in a certain spot.
And you get fireballed for 3 for the rest of the game.
That's the big so fireball's a big one, and and Alex and I have toyed and experimented with Wind Slash, and how it could also play a role. So because the only thing would be because it's continuous, so it's always happening. As soon as it enters the arena, it happens. There's no stack interaction. Continuous is always sort of applying and always constantly adding, right? So it's always checking. It's always adding weakness to everything. Is there a way that since we have since gain is not defined? There's no workaround there, right?
I see the logic you're going at, but once again, it's like trying to fix it via the rule book,
right?
Than what the card is.
And then also, as a design principle, as often as you can, you don't want to overwrite assumed concepts. So if players coming into a game with certain presumptions, you want to make sure that you maintain some of those because it makes it easier for gameplay. You don't want to define gain to mean something completely different than what it does in the English language, right?
True.
We also have other gain cards. Like if we were to change what gain meant, it could dramatically affect a lot of other cards.
Gain to life. Oh, gain to life.
Now the nice part we have is we have time between now and when the major events start coming up, that we can see how this actually plays out. So, future leaguers, people who are playing an organized play, go make pillar decks and see how they work, and see how how valuable are they actually?
So, so Sid brings up Pyre Hill, and interestingly enough, Sid, Pyre Hill is worded differently. So Pyre Hill is while you or a summon is on, while a champion or summon is on Pyre Hill, everything around Pyre Hill gains has
doesn't use gain,
It has while and has, which is what the original or what the intended language of the pillar should have been if we could go back, right? So the Pirate Hill works the way it's meant to.
Champion or summon is
I don't
on
think so.
Fire Hill. Everything around Fire Hill without Fire Weakness gains Fire Weakness.
So it gains it.
So this is the same issue.
While something is on it. So the question is, if something leaves Fire Hill...
They've already gained it.
Everything that's already gained it already gains it. Here, we're just running into an issue of the fact that when you gain something, it should always be coupled with a time frame of when you should lose it. And that's what we're dealing with at the end of the day here. And, as we beef up the game design team, him over there.
Who are you pointing at?
I was pointing at Alex. Then
I was like, what?
These things should be fixed a little bit more as we grow. This is just one of those early game quirks that people are going to be able to talk about as we grow as a game. Be like, remember the days of the pillars? But yeah, it's going to be strong. But my question is, we're now taking a deck concept that was vastly ignored leading up to the championship. Anytime right now, I have not seen anyone seriously take a pillar deck into any gameplay, really. Not even futurely casual anything. So now we're
I played my pillar deck every week. I've pitched for the contest. I didn't submit to the contest, but I brought everybody. I made sure that I did the contest alongside you guys, so there was no complaints that you couldn't properly build a deck. So I have played my deck every week on the online events. This week was Fire Pillar, and I used it supporting Revenge of the Phoenix.
Nice.
Good for you, Alex.
Thank you, Will. Bring a clap to me. I know you all did it at your houses, so don't worry.
So I'd just be curious to see taking a concept that was just not really explored at all. Is this now a feasible deck type archetype? And if it is, then hey, finally, elements actually matter in the game in a serious way. I've been working
I think before it was always, let's take the branding summon because it's more permanent. It can brand whenever I need it to if I get in position to. Now, all right, we're going to brand them as fast as we can, so then we can back it support while we build up our board.
But now you also have this kind of paradox where it's, it's one of the fun things about deck design is how many pillars do you put in? Because if it does permanently brand your opponent, you don't want to overdraw them.
And they're at 5G. The third or fourth one are useless. Yeah,
they're at 5G, so they're also not easy to put into your timeline either. So there's got to be still cases for the summon branders to still be very valuable, because at least they can still pitch out damage. If you look at Nizu or you look at Makara, they still pitch out damage, right? If your opponent's at 2 health, they can still kill them. Where the pillars can't, right?
Oh,
you don't want to top that pillar.
Stop the press for a second. Did I see that? Did Jeff Pasito agree with me?
Yes.
Did we have an agreement between the two houses?
Yes, wow. You guys agreed that I'm a beefcake. Yeah,
I have to change who I award my my deck selection to.
So let's go. Let's go with Steven's comment.
Steve,
has a strong opinion here. If the pillar's intentions were to be while in proximity, and the misinterpretation makes it a permanent effect, is keeping the new interpretation, making the card now more powerful technically, a smart alternative to using erratas to keeping the spirit of the original card?
From my perspective, I want a balance between the spirit of design versus the fact that there are real people spending real dollars on the game. And that's the thing that balances in my mind, because I don't want people to get frustrated when they open up a pack, play with cards, and then go to a tournament and the cards don't work the way they're read. Especially if your entire deck hinges on that. So that's definitely my perspective. I don't like erratas. I don't like bans. I don't like forcing players to go look up this other part of the website to know how to use the cards that they have in their hand. And so that's my perspective on it. But I mean,
Alex, do you foresee potentially this change putting the pillars into the quote unquote ban light?
Ban light?
Like putting them in the focus of the ban.
I could see. So the perception of that is where it does go against one of the pillars, as always have options, because it is definitely an unavailable thing. Not that we haven't had that before with what's the one that gives dark branding?
Dark brand.
Dark brand. Not that we didn't have it before, but it's you can't avoid it, and you can't avoid it for the whole game unless you have specific cards in your deck. So that's something to look at. The thing that I'm worried about is if it off kilters origins. That's my concern right now when I look at it, and the data will be the question.
The big thing here I see is definitely after this and in the next few weeks, Alex is going to be spending a lot of time playtesting the new pillars.
Does Brand come in?
Resole, Matt. Quick, you catch up to speed. If you read the actual card of pillars, as written, they last forever. As intended is not that, but currently as written on the cards, it is forever. Because it does not say a timing restriction on it.
Yeah. So if I were to, my process on what we would do is if this does off kilter the entire game moving forward, or the rest of JLAR moving forward, then I would look into erratas first, and then because erratas and bannings are the same thing. You have to go somewhere on the site to figure out what the difference is. Right. So I'd rather just errata it and then just make them work the way we intended.
Yeah, my perception is if you did the errata, it's not too dramatic a change because that's how people have been playing them.
Yes, yeah.
But I'm not against data. I like data.
Yeah.
So testing it as written.
I mean,
Will!
Yeah.
Testing nonstop!
Okay, I'm on it. Let me just get off the stream.
All right, Will's going away.
Now, there's one more piece. Brand, is that a key word? Or is it going to be a key word, or is it just a word?
It is a key mechanic. So elemental brand is a keyword mechanic.
And brand specifically implies a giving or an exchange of weakness.
So it's giving weakness at a time where they don't have weakness. Okay. That's an important part. And that's why Anguish Flame, I believe, is not a brand.
It's not branding, no.
Yeah.
It just gives a weakness.
Because that one does stack, right?
Yes.
Yeah, which is missed.
It's a desperation
modify. It's a modify, yeah.
It's a modify, yeah. When you're in that desperation and you apply the weakness, the first time it gets applied, the second time it applies it again, but it counts the first application, and there's a compounding effect there.
Mm-hmm.
So, Alex is thinking. I see his thinking face on.
I'm always thinking.
That's a lie.
So how does this make you feel, Will, as a player? That, you know...
I mean... Yeah, it means exploring pillars is definitely... It was a Future League thing that we were trying, and it very quickly fell off. And then when it came out, it was the rare of the packs, I remember in Rays. And I didn't enjoy seeing a pillar as my rare. That's just a truthful perspective. Then they dropped down to uncommon. I was like, this is perfect for them. Because you're always going to have as many as you need from opening boxes. Fireball is something that I would like to test out and see. I mean, Idris can do it because you can create it anywhere. It's sort of an interesting. But you're still every pillar. If you, I guess you only have to do the one. That's what we're saying, right? You do the one pillar. That's 2 fireballs, and then every other fireball after that gains 1 more additional damage.
This might actually allow for split element decks to be a little bit more reasonable. So something like an Idris Earth deck, where you run a few fire pillars, 2 or 3, because when it hits the table, now your fireballs are hitting for 3. But then you're now focused on Earth pillars to do things like Landslide or Formosan, which now hit for 4 or 3 respectively, right? It allows for that kind of separation. Still don't know if that's a reasonable playstyle, but it's a lot more reasonable now.
Yeah.
So
I like Jeff's deck. Handful of pillars, a bunch of jumps. Idris is just gonna keep jumping away. It's just a turn of playing jumps and fireballing.
It's just nothing but evasion. That would be. Yeah, and Meteorite is Earth too. So you'd be able to do an Idris Earth deck, which could be interesting. Idris Earth Fire deck, which, I don't know. I'd be curious to see how this works. Maybe that one summon finally becomes useful. The one Alex hates so much.
Which one?
The one worm with the resistance.
No.
Never,
okay. Never, no, not okay.
Okay, Dex.
Not okay.
No,
not okay. The other bad worm.
Blood centipede
Yes,
or whatever.
Yeah.
The what?
Nobody. A card that does not. Doesn't matter.
Earth fire resistance one.
It's still not relevant. It still dies. What is it?
Alex, yes, you're right. Alex does hate a lot of summons. Isn't that right,
true.
Jeff? I agree.
Alex
with Jeff.
hates a lot of things that I design, except for the game. He loves the game.
We forgot to
cards,
boo the designer of the pillars for obviously not properly explaining. So can we get everybody to boo out in the video world? Everybody go boo.
Video world.
Video world.
What world do you
In
live
the
in, Alex?
chat. That's what Alex is
chat,
trying to say.
chat.
In the chat.
And we had no topics for
Thank
tonight.
you.
Yeah, right.
Changed my winner to Baron Bruiser. He gave a boo out in the chat.
The only person who understood what you were saying.
The only person. It could be you with an alternate account.
Yes,
Jack's-
Darren,
Jack's
your
just
Ryukyu rabbit can finally deal damage.
There it is! Ryukyu pillar deck. Built itself.
Built itself. Oh, fun times.
All right, well, future leaguers, let's try it out. Let's test it out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm leaning towards the side of let's see if we can make it work as is. And if we can't, then we look at rating it. But
I will say that it does help judging when the card just
does what it
says it does, right?
Does, yeah.
Because it's like, oh, well, does this permanent? It says it's permanent, so it's permanent, right? It's a pretty easy judge call when someone calls you over and be like, how does this card work? It's literally what it says it does. But I think it'll be interesting to see how that change goes.
Nice. All right, cool. Did we have another topic?
Oh, I had one topic asked in the chat. It's a very serious one. Why does Bill suck at multiplayer?
What? Who asked that?
Yes.
I felt I did pretty good, considered that I was thrown into the hellfire by some bystander, and then I wiggled my way out and made it to the final 2 health.
Who
was that?
Pretty good.
I didn't write down the name, unfortunately.
I was
early,
but
too early for Jeff to be up, so it won't be.
It wasn't Jeff. That's all I know.
A Jeff question.
It wasn't a Jeff question.
That was a fun. Did you actually watch it, Alex, at all, or no?
I did. Yes, I got. I
yawn.
Except for I missed the last 5 minutes.
Who? I don't know that name. I don't know a yawn.
Jeff's making excuses for you. He says it was too early for Will. He was tired.
Yeah, my parental duties takes over first.
Well, I see Jeff's defending you again, Will. What's going on?
Hey,
You paid him off?
No, this is some weird alternate realities going on right now.
That was definitely a crazy game. It was also really weird for me to get into OBS today to do this live stream and realize, oh wait, I haven't touched OBS much since then.
Oh wow!
Last week I just did not do much. It was weird. I was working on other things, but I didn't do the streams as I should. Yeah, that was fun. I like the rain deck you made. It was. I wish there was things like temporal relocations though. Those are so fun in multiplayer.
So yeah,
shadow grab someone right in front of you and then temporal relocate them in the middle of a tsunami.
The fact that you put me in to the middle of a pit, then tsunami'd me with like 6 different creatures, and we had 2 brand new players trying to navigate a 4-player stack with 6 players.
It was a crash course.
Oh man. Should record this and make all my judges do this.
That was good. It is recorded. It's up on YouTube. You can go watch it on either our channel or on Raf's channel. Yeah.
There was a few things I was like, okay, I don't want to like. I think at one point I had thought about putting stone protectors in, but I was like, okay, I don't sure if we want to be doing this all the time, right? Like how fast do we want the game to progress and how slow, like. Trying to make it entertaining, right? So I thought like the Shadows Grass are a lot of fun, as we were able to see. You know, having some big iconic summons like Brooks and Scorpions, and then having sort of the Raha player just sort of was supposed to be coming in and darting around, dealing damage where it needs to, but then getting thrown right into the middle of a bunch of 3-chi summons. Was not the game plan, but you know, having some tsunamis, right? We didn't have any purifying waves. We didn't have any big meteorites. It wasn't any like feel bad moments where a new player would have played out their hand and then all of a sudden everything gets blown up and they're like, okay, well, I have no cards in my hand, so I guess I'll just walk around, right? So I was very focused on, you know, everyone can establish or do something early on, and then eventually there'll be a chaotic pile happening. Yeah. Which I think pretty much got across. So
yeah. I think I definitely like that for multiplayer, where you want to have cards with the right interaction points.
Right. Yeah.
It's not just something happens. Purifying Waves is a great example of a bad card to put into that newbie multiplayer deck, because it's like it happens from anywhere, hits everything, and then it's just like, all right, everything's just dead. There's no responses. Nothing I can do out of this. Yeah. But like Tsunami, we had people trying to get out of it, and then being like, no, we're going to kill your escape plan. And those are fun moments.
Those are fun. Yeah, those are definitely interactive.
I felt bad about that one because you guys advised him on the escape plan.
I did both. I advised him on the escape plan and advised the other person on destroying the escape plan. I did it all.
So in that moment, I was like, we should have paused and been like, okay, in Genesis, you have a chance. Your passing of priority does not necessarily cause you to exert, which would have allowed them to understand, okay, I can pass whoever gets to play the next ability, but my thing on the board doesn't have to exert as a price of that. May would have allowed him to them to actually make those decisions on their own a little bit better. But in the moment, he's like, oh, what do I do? And I mean, it was a good plan, and I don't know what if the Scorpion would have done anything to begin with, because it would have lived, right? But yeah, it was kind of funny.
So the thing is, when I pitched the idea for the Colossal Ant to do the toss, I was genuinely, honestly trying to help him.
Yeah.
And then later on, there was like, oh, we're going to attack with the Giant Scorpion. I was like, oh, now what you can do is this. Yeah. Multiplayer's fun. We definitely need to get more multiplayer games just streamed out there.
Did you see the multiplayer arenas that Dave designed? I will send those to Sid so he can maybe post them up.
I think they were on the Future League chat.
Yeah. Sid doesn't pay attention to us in there.
No. I'm in Future League, but I also don't. I have all the channels muted because I've been spending so much time on Discord. It was really bad. I actually had to leave some Discord channels.
All right, I can't.
Being like, I spend hours just sitting on Discord reading through chats and lurking, and it's not healthy for my productivity.
I always said that I wasn't part of social media, but then my wife gladly points out every single time that I have Discord, and that's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. It's actually like, part of our social media plan. When people are like, "Oh, how do you connect with the community?" I'm like, "Oh, this, and Discord." Like, it is one of our biggest ways of connecting with the community.
I do say, like, I don't do social media, but I am on Discord.
I don't know where you sent it. I don't know where you want it, Sid. Send it to you on Slack.
I don't think I can actually say that anymore. I think Discord is as mainstream as everything else now.
So this is the...
It had extra fat. It had wings. It came with wings.
Yeah.
Game mats, now with wings.
It folds up into the little box thing that they use to roll dice.
Yeah.
You just need magnets.
Oh, speaking of fold, anyone watched Jeff's video on his folding case? Have you guys seen that?
I saw the he was streaming
printing
the 3D printing.
Yeah, he had another one follow up showing it actually like folding out and having everything. A lot of love going Jeff's way tonight from me. I don't maybe not feeling well.
I have been thinking about some alternate mats and things I want to do with the game later on. One of the big things I'm thinking about is how to make webcam play a lot easier. And how to make that kind of the proxy side of webcam just print and play. Right? Like if you just have an arena that fits on a 8.5 by 11, you print that off, and then you got little like tiles for all the core summons, and you just print those off, and then you just use that as a print and play, right?
Why don't we just micro card them? You know, the little deck of cards. We'll just make Genesis cards this small.
Well, the reason why I want them print and play is because that way it's not an added cost to the community, right? It's just you got the actual cards, which you'll use one camera for to show that this is your hand and these are the things you're playing on the field, and then you have another camera or something to show your mat, or however you set it up, but like some sort of mini version.
Like 1/8, like Alex, you're saying like 1/8 size cards.
1/8 size cards.
Giant scorpion on a 1/8 size card.
Yeah.
Everything is just an ish, so it's giant-ish scorpion, angel-ish of retribution.
It's just tiny epic Genesis Battle of Chibi Champions. It's Steve's title.
Nice. I like the epic. I had to add in the tiny epic.
Yeah.
So there are things I'm thinking about on that front. It's just trying to get that set up. It's gonna take a little bit of time, but I mean the community has been so amazing at doing so many of these things. There's your assignment. Turn it into a print and play for the webcam. And I think that will be really, really awesome. But it is something I've thought about because I don't get the opportunity to play it as much. But if I could do that on webcam, it would be a lot easier. Yeah. Because, like,
I know from the webcams that I've done, like the biggest thing was just sort of some of the mats. Like I think I have which one is this? Fishhood? The red. What's the one with the red clay circle in the middle? Is that? Oh, that's Fishhood, yeah. So I have that one, and because there's so much detail and contrast in colors, like your card doesn't always show up. But the championship ones, because it's sort of a muted fade, the cards pop a little bit better on camera, right? So even little subtle things like that, if you're looking at, sizing wise, I have a stand that luckily it can be raised up to capture everything, but.
Yeah, like I was watching. I joined the Infinity. They were doing a webcam, and I just saw a little bit of it. I'm like, yeah, this feels like a logistical challenge. So, but Ontario's opening up.
Yes,
we can play in person again. I know Heads or Tails is doing their events this week. I don't know other stores that are doing theirs. I know Infinity is talking about doing some in-store play soon.
Oh, nice.
I know Dragon World is.
Nice. Yeah. So, things will open up soon, and that'll be great.
All right. Here comes Jeff. Now all the friendly Jeff talk is off now, because now he's chirping me. I don't even know what TikTok is. Mr. Jeff, other than you were on TikTok. This is cracking packs in cars. Who does that?
It's like the Jerry Seinfeld one, right?
Yeah.
Comedians in cars.
Coffee. Comedians in cars. Yeah, getting coffee.
Yeah.
He says he can't leave you feeling good and positive, Will.
Whoa. No comment.
All right. Do we want to talk
Should we
about
go into our
pitch contest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the pitch contest or
Not the pitch contest.
No.
Do you want to update people what's happening with the pitch contest?
Sure, we can do a quick update.
Set up.
How many cards am I winning this time?
I don't know. Let me just pull it up. You want to know? You want to see? I'll pull up the data right now. Let me pull up this pitch contest. You know, I can give data. I'll going out to everybody. Well, actually, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I'll cut more.
Don't give data.
Oh, this is the old pitch contest. Who did this? Who opens that one? Yeah. So we're pretty far into it. Pretty much, we're planning the next steps, which will probably be some of the cards going out to the community, figuring out what ones those will be and how we're gonna do them. Because before it was simple. Well, like before it was they were all 6Gs, and then we started them by affiliation.
Yeah.
But we literally have all over the world.
Whole gamut.
The whole gambit. And for a lot of them, like one of the requirements was you didn't have to put an affiliation, so a lot of them are just Jalara, right? So you can't necessarily just sort them by affiliation.
How many cards?
How many cards are approved so far?
Or how many came in?
About 200, we'll say.
Wow, that's pretty good. 200 cards? That's a lot. A lot of ideas.
We're down currently to 48. We're down at 48 right now.
45, the top 25%. They give awards out for that, actually, you know top
well,
20.
Four of your cards made it to the next
Hey!
one. There you go.
4 of 200. I like that number.
That's a whole unset right there.
Oh, wow.
Man. Our first unset is going to be the barely a set, which is the one I'm going to do, which is nothing but bear puns.
Nice.
It's going to be a thing.
Oh, I thought unset already came out. It was called Raise. But okay.
Shots fired.
All right, so
4 out of 200 sounds really good until you know how many I actually put in.
Darren asked how many. Darren, you got 3. Actually, Darren, you have multiple names in here, so you actually do have 4. You tied Will.
All right, yeah, that's right. Darren's name was spelled differently on different ones.
There's actually 2 Wills as well. One Will Kemp, and then one William Kemp. For some reason,
William Kemp is probably my wife's.
Fun times.
I won't ask if those ones got in yet, because then I won't know. We'll find out. We'll wait. We'll let it be a surprise for her.
All right. So we didn't have a lot of submissions this week, but that's not going to stop us from keep on pushing forward with doing deck tech submissions, because I think just having the deck techs out there is a huge win. I mean, we should be happy about that. And then now that we've been talking about pillars, people can go back and look at these deck techs and test them out with a completely different light on them. So, Alex, since you weren't here last week, you can go with which one was your winner.
Okay, you didn't want me to start complaining about all of them?
You can complain about the other ones as we get to the other ones.
Well, I can complain about all of them right now, saying that the other ones did not meet my criteria. None of them gave me a complete deck. So by default, I had to give the win to Darren, who gave me the full chi and a Forethoughts deck.
All right.
Now,
sorry, Alex, you done? I'm
done. That's my gripe for today.
Jeez, get that guy a soapbox.
That was rough.
This is why we don't have enough deck submissions. They don't get destroyed.
Yeah, that's it. Like, people just don't like you, Alex.
That's all right.
The character, Alex.
You know,
that's true.
There's only 4 people submitted. You know, those 4 people are happy. They got 3 out of 4 odds.
Don't say how many. There's only 3 prizes. That means one person feels really bad.
Well, wasn't the last one accidentally didn't put in pillars?
Yes,
so there was
true.
one deck that didn't follow the thing. I mean, that was the same thing with Scheming Skeleton the week before, right?
There was no pillars in one deck, so the other 3 just sort of win by default.
I guess as I stated, they're all winning by default.
Yeah, they all win by default for other different reasons, right?
All right, but let me actually talk about Darren's deck, which, you know, Darren decided to be a little creative, got a little nasty with the elemental mastery coming in. Decided to play a water deck, with only four water cards in the deck as the tsunamis, not including summons.
Yeah, okay.
Turning their techniques into water abilities to do it with the water pillar.
Which I'm
card combo.
cool with.
It is kind of cool. It's kind of cool. But now, if you were to go back and look at this deck now, I would be now interested where you could cut a lot more of those water pillars.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You could cut at least 3. I would probably keep 5, right? And then switch those 3 over to Tsunami, so you're at 7 there. And maybe pull out a few of the Elemental Masteries.
Yeah. You can put a few dedicated in just to balance those out if you get extras as well.
That's always the thing that gets me when I make an Axon deck, is I always forget to put in the dedicated. And that always bites me. Like, you
can play more dead cards if you have dedicated studies.
Especially with the pillars.
Let's not say dead cards, niche cards.
Niche cards. Well, they are dead after you played the first pillar.
Lesser cards, Alex.
Play another one.
Well, I mean, what happens if something comes out? A new summon comes out, and you're like, I want to brand that somehow.
Your opponent plays another Baihu. You gotta drop a new pillar to brand it.
Instead of just getting it closer to the original pillar.
Origins gets an emergency 10 cards that go anti-branding.
Not again.
So it's interesting here with the Forethoughts because Windslash comes in.
Yeah.
But with the Elemental Masteries, right? Like, the whole entire idea here is you can switch that over. And then the High Dualist.
You know what? You've changed my mind, Sid. Yeah. This deck is not perfect.
Uh-oh.
There is...
Sorry, Darren. I'm sorry.
6 wind slashes to 4 Manthers.
Oh yeah, how does that math work?
You pull out a 3
and a 5.
5, and put in 2 4s, right? Like, you could do that.
All right. You're all right this time, Darren.
Oh, they also have the High Dualist, right? So you could bring all the High Dualists in, and then bump up some of your 3 cheese because you're dropping. I'm not sure what they're doing. Oh, yeah, probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah.
All right.
I do like the High Dualist with the Elemental Mastery.
Yeah.
Get the dual.
Because on
get the real
trigger that. Yeah, you can
Dualist.
The stun push.
The stun push.
The stun push.
Stun push.
All right. So that's Darren. Congrats. I got a signed water pillar, so you're gonna get that. It is an epic raised version of it. So.
Hey, look at that. Hard to come by. Epic.
All right, Will. Which one? Where's yours?
Which one? I don't. I forget which one I was supposed to.
I'll be honest. I'm pretty sure you said Darren as well.
I did. I think
we didn't talk about our seconds and thirds.
That's fine. Right. I will. It just seems to be the theme tonight that I will support. Unless was yours Jeff's?
No, mine doesn't.
Yeah. All right, fine. I'll give it to Jeff by default because only 3 winners are winning tonight. I will say though, his mad scientist TTS skills are really. I need some moving cards too.
No, Jeff had me in the beginning of that video. If he just made a proper deck, he would have got there.
That's so mean. That is so.
That is not me. I have made the statement, and I demand forethoughts.
I was just surprised that we didn't see Jeff's face moving on the card yet. Like I know, like I'm just waiting for the day when we see like Jeff on a card, and he's like bouncing around, dancing in his corner with just his shoulder dancing.
He got to get an animation, which is taking the regular champion, morphing it into the chibi form, and then back to the regular form in loop. And it just goes around turning into chibi forms. Or the front side is regular and the back side is the chibi, and then you can choose, you know. Either way, Jeff, we got expectations here.
His deck was, again, the Tsunami Water Pillar was, it's it's always a fun time. Tsunami 5G, Water Pillar 5G. Hey, there you go. The only thing I have to say, though, Jeff, is when you're playing Nubia, you get to draw 2 cards. It's broken. Don't forget it. Because he was doing his testing, he was like, okay, we'll draw 1 for next round. You're Dubia. You draw 2.
Lean into the brokenness, right?
He's still. I mean, what would I do in this deck? There's some 4Gs that are pretty good for summoning, like especially if you're doing water. Like the Manther has got that nice awareness for 2 damage.
Yeah.
The Marakaras, that's a 5G. There are some better things other than the water elemental, but yes, I do like his approach to the beta and the art of the beta stuff as he tries to make that work. So
yeah.
Although a water elemental hitting for 4 now every time, that is interesting.
Is it?
No.
Is it?
Soul dies to Gust.
Still 2 cards to make it.
So when you bring in the 4-chi, Jeff, you bring in a 6-chi to balance it. That's how you make the 250 chi. Don't worry, I got got your help right there to make it.
Then I don't hit. Oh, he actually said that. Oh, Alex gets mad at me. Speaking of not hitting 250 chi.
All right. So Jeff, just so you know, I'm pulling into. I had to pull into my personal collection to get the rest of the signed ones, but I do have another water pillar, so I'm gonna send that out to Jeff as well. And then last one, but I actually like this one going into the Erica Earth deck. I just think it's a very it's a great place to start with Erica. It was definitely the Earth deck that people were looking for when Rays came out. Right, that was the thing. A lot of people were playing Erica, Landslide, Earth. Now with the permanent Earth damage, this can make the Landslide decks a lot more interesting.
That being said, he didn't run any Landslides.
Oh yeah, but Formosan's,
yeah.
So Formosan's already a great summon. Being able to, if you drop the Earth Pillar, now your Formosans can pretty comfortably take on Angels.
Yeah, I would agree.
They trigger in for 3, then they drop another one. There are Landslides on the table, though, in his image. Are they in the 4 thoughts?
Oh, they're 4 thoughts. They're 4
thoughts.
thoughts. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, now the elephant in the room, though. What, Alex?
All right, let's have a chat.
You said that so loud, your voice was just
50 chi is. I know you do. You did it. You did it in the championship. You can do it here too.
Yeah,
so.
Number one player,
2021. 250 chi, and it wasn't. You didn't even stop at the main board. You in the 4 thoughts. You're like, I'm not even going to use my full 4 thought chi either.
We don't need a description, Sid. We can count. We see that you're missing 3 both times.
Now, how great would it have been if he won the championship with a deck that didn't even have 2?
Not even possible.
He did it. He can't. You can bring that up, but he didn't. Do you know what next championship said? You gotta bring a deck with not enough chi. Not enough chi. Bring it in.
Only 247 for Sid. I'll make sure to write that down.
You only get 247.
Only 247 on all deck checks for Sid going forward. Any circuits he shows up to, 247.
It's just one of those things. If you won a championship, you lose some chi for the next event. You won last time as a penalty. It's your handicap.
Handicap. There you go. Yeah, living card game. There we go.
Sid's handicap. Oh, that's so good. Yeah. All right. So I had a deck contest idea submitted by Joey. Which was taking the 2 demo decks, the Raha and the Malik deck, and upgrading them to full 50 deck. What would be the next 10 cards you put in, and how would you give that to a new player and be like, all right, these are some of the cards you should be looking at.
So do we have that deck list for people?
I'll get those deck lists up when I put up the assignment. You'll have both deck lists, and you're just taking one of the 2 and upgrading it to the full 50 cards.
Jeff says pillars.
Pillars.
Nice.
So 10 cards. 10 cards you're just adding, you're not taking away.
Cards. It's interesting.
Yeah. So the more authentic you make it, the more...
Hey, do you know what? And 4 thoughts. There's no 4 thoughts for that deck.
And 250 chi.
Yeah. Well, it is, It is balanced 40, out at the 40 cards.
10 cards and a 4 thoughts.
So it's 4,200 chi right now.
Not
that means you need 10 cards and 50 more chi.
Yes.
Sid.
Well, we will see. Most decks will look identical, but perhaps the 10 cards will not. Well, technically, wait. Here, actually, question here. Is the contest for both decks, or are they actually doing 10 and 10? Or are they picking just one? Because they're only choosing 10 cards. I think they should do both decks.
All right, so that's the contest.
And I'll be nice. I will be nice. You guys don't have to do 4 thoughts. This week only, I'm allowing you to go 4 thoughts. If you want to go above and beyond, I will note it, though.
Of course.
This is becoming so confusing. 1 week, Alex is fine.
More detail when we actually post it up.
Alex is fine without.
What should I give as prizes?
Some Rajas and Maliks.
Foil Rajas and Maliks?
Sure. Yeah.
Here we go.
All right, we got foil Rajas and Maliks going into the prizing.
Works for me.
All right, so that's the contest. That's the live stream. Anything else before we wrap this up?
One thing I was surprised last week when you guys did your show, and you guys were on the topic of monocolored decks. I thought for sure your contest last week was going to be monocolored decks.
Will's face. It's like, rise and fall. I don't know. I'm not super interested by monocolored decks. Oh, the pillars were signed by the artist Alex. So
not that Alex.
Yeah, not that
other Alex.
That no. Yeah. Every Christmas I send packages out to the art team, and then they send me back cards that I signed, and I have extra cards. Or in this case, I actually pulled out of my collection, but I think the community will enjoy it. Then it's just sending in my binder, right? So you all get to enjoy awesome things. Yeah, I have the foil champion, so those will go out to the winners. Next week, each winner will get both champions. Their Malik and their Raha. So, yeah, do that, and then that's it for this week. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.